Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and in today's video, I am finally listening to somebody who's been commenting on my videos for the longest time, telling me to do a video. We are going to be going over the top 10 classic cars for under $10,000. In my opinion, I chose the years 1980 and back. I believe that anything from 1980 and back is a classic car at this point. And so that's the only requirements. It doesn't have to be from a certain country, you know, it doesn't have to be American or Japanese or European. It just has to be from 1980 or before. So that's the only requirement I have, but without further ado, let's get right into the list with number 10. Number 10 is going to the Mazda RX-7 FB. If you want an unreliable little monster that makes absolutely no horsepower, but it's really cool looking, and you can put an LS in it because for some reason the engine bay is massive, even though the engine itself was very, very small. This, my friend, is the car for you. Those are the requirements that you need to meet in order to buy one of these things. If you do decide to buy one of these, like I said, they're very, very slow. They come with a 1.1 liter, 2-rotor rotary engine. That makes only 100 horsepower. It is rear-wheel drive though, and it's also a very lightweight car, but still, that's not very good. Top of that, the motor itself, even though yes, it is a rotary, so you might be like, okay, well, it's a rotary, it's gotta make some good power if you start throwing some parts at it. No, not really. It's only a 2-rotor. The 2 rotors weren't the best for making a lot of power. The 3 rotors and even obviously the 4 rotors were also really good, but it's still a really cool car. It just looks good. If you want a nice little piece of history, obviously most of these cars are not going to have a lot of horsepower numbers. They're old cars, man. And actually, the next car, the number 9 spot, is a perfect example of what I was just talking about, because it's a Chevy Corvette C3. Well, let's see something real quick. The Chevy Corvettes have always been a dominant powerhouse of a sports car in the world, by far, right? Nowadays, we have the C8. That thing's making like, what, 600 horsepower? I don't know exactly, but like 500 horsepower. A really good car, keeping up with the pack. This car came with a 5.7 liter V8, making only 195 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive. That may sound like it was bad, but it wasn't. It was pretty good back when this car came out. It was actually really decent. It was a very decent horsepower number because obviously, you know, we've changed over time. Either way though, this Corvette C3, horsepower numbers aside, it also handles very well. In my opinion, it looks absolutely incredible. I love the C3. I think it's one of my favorite Corvettes by far. And everything about it is just perfect. If you want a nice little Corvette that looks very decent, and I love how the back end on these C3 Corvettes have like the biggest tires ever. I love that. It's just perfect. Coming in at the number 8 spot is going to Datsun. That sun right there, the 510, the Datsun 510, my friend. Again, another Japanese car that's going to have a very small horsepower number, but this car was so freaking revolutionary. I feel like people don't understand why the Datsun 510 is so popular in today's standards. It was a freaking, like, an icon when the thing came out. It comes with a 1.6 liter inline 4, making 96 horsepower, and it is rear-wheel drive. Obviously, 96 horsepower is pretty slow. You know, you can probably, most likely, I'm just saying, stick your feet through the floor and run along like it's a Flintstones car and get to your destination faster than if you were driving the Datsun 510. But it's a cool little tiny sedan thing that's so unassuming that just for some reason hits all the right spots, and it's rear-wheel drive, and you could put a different motor in there, put a K-Series in there if you want to, man. It's going to be a fun time either way. Speaking of K-Series, ironically, the next car that we're going to be talking about at the number 7 spot is going to the first generation of the Honda Civic. No, the first gen Honda Civic did not come with a K-Series before somebody takes that out of context. I can't believe I have to explain that, but I guarantee somebody's going to be like, the first gen Civic didn't come with a K-Series, Mark. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant that the K-Series was made by Honda. Either way, though, the first gen Civic did come with a 1.5 liter inline 4, making a massive, a monstrous, an illegal 60 horsepower going to the front wheels. Obviously, this car is incredibly slow. The car was not built to go fast, okay? It was literally built to just please all the people that needed to get from point A to point B on time back in the old 70s, and that's exactly what it did. It did its job. There's a reason why Civic is one of the best-selling cars of all time, because it did what it wanted to do. And then once they made money, you know, they were like, okay, this car's doing pretty good. Now we'll start adding performance models to it. But back then, they weren't. So don't expect to go fast with this thing. It's just a fun, cool little tiny old relic of a car. Coming in at the number 6 spot is going to another American-made classic car, the Plymouth Valiant. I didn't even know this thing existed before making this video. I'm not even kidding. I was just looking up on Facebook Marketplace because I don't really look for classic cars that much. I was looking up on Facebook Marketplace like classic cars under 10K, looking at some, and then I saw a couple of these and I thought they were really cool. After doing some research, they come with a 5.2 liter V8 making 220 horsepower in its rear-wheel drive. That's actually very decent. Again, this car is very old. It's a 70s car, and it makes 220 horsepower. That may not sound like a lot today, but back then, that was very, very good. That's actually, as a matter of fact, that's the second highest horsepower number on this entire list. So it was obviously really, really good. I just don't really understand. Like, I'm sure there's going to be some muscle car guys in the comment section. So if you are, please tell me, why is it that the Valiant, the Plymouth Valiant here, doesn't get love? What was wrong with it? Because in my opinion, this thing seems like an incredible, incredible deal. Coming in at the number 5 spot is going to the Nissan 280Z. This is my car's like great grandfather. Actually, no, it would technically just be its grandpa, because the 300ZX would be its father. And so yeah, the 280Z would be the grandpa. So this is my car's grandpa. But it's a really, really fun, awesome car. I feel like everybody loves the looks of these old Zs. Everybody just loves the looks of Zs in general. It comes with a 2.8 liter inline six, making only 138 horsepower, and it is rear wheel drive. Again, keep in mind, yes, 138 horsepower is slow today, but back then the RX-7 was making 100, the Datsun 510 was making less than that, and the first gen Civic was making even less than that. So this car had 38 horsepower more than the RX-7. It was a powerhouse. Everybody loved the 280Z. Yes, it is called the Nissan 280Z, by the way. This is after they changed the name from Datsun to Nissan. And yes, it's technically the same as a 240Z, except it has a bigger motor, so that's why I put it here. Barely missing out of the top 3, coming into the number 4 spot, is the 3rd generation of the Pontiac Firebird. This is the one that everybody knows and loves, the one with the freaking little eagle on its head, but you're not finding the eagle version of it. Actually, I don't even think this is the, I don't know, I could be wrong there, but you know what I'm talking about. The 3rd gen, there's gonna be a video on the screen, man, so don't make fun of me. The car comes with a 4.9 liter V8, making 140 horsepower, and it is rear wheel drive. This car did come out during the gas crisis though, so there are a couple models that make even more horsepower than that. However, if you're finding one under 10K, chances are you're not going to find one of the ones with the higher horsepower numbers. But either way, this thing, even if I get it, you know, you want a old muscle car because you want to go fast in a straight line, it's kind of like their whole purpose. But dude, I would honestly just buy a Firebird and keep it relatively stock and nice looking, because they just look incredible. I've always loved the looks of these Firebirds. Like I think just like doing a resto mod type of thing would be what I would do. Coming in 3rd place is actually going to the only European car on this entire list, the BMW 5 Series E12. Back before the 80s happened, they didn't have cars like the 3 Series. I think they might have had the 6 Series, but I honestly don't even think so, because the E24 was the first 6 Series, and I'm pretty sure that came out in the 80s. So there was not that many BMWs to choose from here. It was either this car or the 2000, the BMW 2000, and I chose this one. It comes with a 2.8 liter inline six, making 175 horsepower, and it is rear wheel drive. That's actually very, very good horsepower number for its time in a little sedan from BMW. Like that's very decent. Again, there is another BMW you can find under 10K. Like I said, it's called the BMW 2000, 2002. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know why I keep calling it the 2000, but the BMW 2002. But I just chose the E12 because it's such an underrated car. Like nobody talks about it. It's so, I don't know. I love this thing. It looks really cool. I would never personally buy one, but hey, if you will like the classics, here you go. Coming in at 2nd place, however, is a car that I personally would buy one day, because I, for some reason, absolutely love them. The 1st generation of the Toyota Celica. This car came out back in the time where all the Japanese car brands were making their, like, sports cars look like American muscle cars. You know what I'm saying? Like, they all, like, wanted their cars to look similar to American muscle, and that's exactly what they did with the 1st gen Celica. The car comes with a 1.6 liter inline four, making 134 horsepower, and it is rear wheel drive. That's actually very, very good for its time. And if you think about it, the 7th gen Celica ended its runtime with 170 horsepower. So, you know, like 20 or 30 years later, it was only making, what, 36 more horsepower? Like, this thing was insane. It was an insane ahead of its time little monster. It only got better from there, obviously, with the Celica line. But either way, I love the 1st gen Celica. I think it looks incredible. It's lightweight. It's fun to drive. I want one. But coming in at 1st place, the best classic car for under $10,000, in my personal opinion, has to go to the Chevy Nova. The official Nova. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the murder Nova. That one, I don't know if it's like technically the 2nd generation or the 1st generation, but you guys know exactly which car I'm talking about. I freaking love this thing. It's beautiful in my opinion. They obviously didn't really... You're not going to find like a V8 powered big block Nova for under 10K, but either way, you can still find a 2.5 liter inline six powered one under 10K, and if you do, it makes 250 horsepower and it's rear wheel drive. This is because obviously this was way before any sort of emissions or gas crisis was happening, and so they could just make the cars be ridiculously fast, and that's exactly what they did with the Nova, even in the inline 6 model. It's just incredible, dude. Obviously, if you can, I would save your money and buy the V8 because you're going to have a lot more fun with that. But either way, the inline 6 is still a really good car. I freaking love this thing. I think it's really, really cool. I also have a dog named after it, okay? my freaking boxers are named Chevelle and Nova. Okay, I have 2 of them. They're both girls, and Chevelle has a stripe on her head. She's really cute, so we named her Chevelle because the Chevelles have the stripe. I'm getting off topic, but you know what I'm saying. Thank you guys. Sorry about that. There at the end, I got a little, sidetracked, okay? It happens to the best of us, but you're gonna make fun of me for it? You're gonna make fun of me, buddy? Sorry. I didn't mean it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Thank you for the guy that stuck with asking me to make this video for so long, because it was fun to make. I'm happy I made it. I'm sorry for making you wait for so long. I know every time you're like, still waiting on that classic car video, and I was like, yeah, it's coming. And I was like, oh God, I gotta get that out. And then I finally decided today I'm doing it, So thank you so much, man. I appreciate the consistency there. And I'm sorry for disappointing you for so long. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Das Vidania, and have a nice night.